Sunday, July 31st. You know, if you're watching this right now, whether it's on live or you watch it later on, because I think all the lives can be saved. I think all the lives can be saved. So I think the last one I did was saved. Well, I just want to go ahead and let you guys know, very simple, that if you're watching this video, no matter when or where, remember, for God, for the Almighty, there's no time, there's no space. It's all one. Now, I haven't done this live thing a lot, so I'm touching buttons here to see what. Oh, you changed the way it looks. Yeah, I like that. That there. I'm just going through it, guys. I haven't done this a lot. Alright, okay. This. Right. I'm just pushing buttons, guys. I'm trying to go ahead and see what's going on with this thing here. Okay. Alright, so there's not what we want. It says that I can share this. It's stopped. I'm just trying to find out what I can do and can't do, guys. So just give me a quick second. Chance. What's this? Alright, guys. Well, I think I kind of saw what it is, how it goes. So we're gonna go ahead and continue. I think it's a little bit. Can y'all hear? Hope everything's heard well. Well, thank you for joining this live, guys. This is Group with Ulosophy. We're gonna go ahead and talk about a few things and just have some talks, especially regarding tonight's video that will be premiering at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So make sure you guys go ahead and see it. It's going to be well worth it. It is a long video, but it's real good. And I don't know if it allows you to, but when you click on it, for example, right now you can see upcoming video premiere at 7 p.m. I don't know if you could see the actual description, but on the description you can actually see the actual point, the timings on certain discussions. For example, 304 talking about royal bloodlines, 15 with 17 seconds talking about GTF Chromium, things like that. So just by looking at that, you can actually see exactly what the video is about, will be about, and it's gonna be very interesting. It's just like I see that as just like, you know, a poster for a movie that's about to premiere. It's pretty nice. So we're gonna start to try to do that. We're gonna evolve a little bit and give that, you know, put the time track on all of our videos, and maybe some of the past videos, especially ones that we feel are very important. I also have on there all the links for all the nutritional supplements that I recommend and talk about. These specific supplements are the only ones I recommend. Again, disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. Seek professional help first. Seek your doctor first. Don't take anything without your doctor's approval. Matter of fact, don't do anything that I say. I'm a professional at whatever I'm saying. Don't do anything I say. um, this is fictional. None of it is true. And don't expect anything from the work of others. Don't expect anything from the work of others. Don't expect profit from the work of others. Don't expect nothing from the work of others. Okay? Not a thing. And that's very important, guys, because once you go ahead and realize that you are responsible for your own life, you can go ahead and start taking true action, and you start feeling relieved of a lot of things. For example, one of the of the key things that I tell people to do, and to make sure that they start doing constantly, and probably you will do that for the rest of your life, because many times it may come up, you may do it, and that's not completing a cycle, or not completing a promise, failing to go ahead and if you say I'm gonna be there at 7 and you're there at 7:30, that's not completing a promise. That's not completing a cycle. And subconsciously, that's a bad thing, and it starts to affect you. And the more you don't complete your promises, the more you don't finish your cycles as you told people or someone that you're supposed to do it, the more you will start being more of a liar. The more you will go ahead and start trying to avoid people, and that will affect friendships, that will affect your finances, that will affect your productivity. So you have to go ahead and keep your promises. Keep the promises that you make. Okay? If you say you're gonna be there at 7, be there at 7. If they say, can you be there at 7, and you know whether you can be there or not. Even if you have to think about it a little bit, that's fine. Think about it a little bit, But tell yourself, really be honest. Be like, no, I cannot be there at 7. You know when you cannot be there at 7. And if you can be there at 7, think about it, whether you want to be there at 7. If you don't want to be there at 7, or you can't make it there at 7, says, I'm sorry, I'm not able to make it. And the best thing to do is not to go ahead, well maybe tomorrow, maybe tomorrow or something. Just try to avoid as much more promising as you can. If you cannot make it at 7, then don't say I can't make it at 7. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and try to make it up for you one day, and so forth. But unless it really is an emergency, right? Or unless it's something that really will benefit you to be there at 7, then of course, if it's your job and your job is your income, then definitely you have to be there at 7 if that's what it is. I tell people this all the time. If you have a job, or if you have a career, being punctual is so important. I'm in the management industry. Okay? Many people, the reason for for their own failures, the reason for them not succeeding, for them not doing as good of a job as they would like to, the number one reason is because they're not punctual. They don't keep their promises, and that affects people a long way. Not even on the timing perspective, whether that I'm talking about, whether they're absent or tardy. More on the thing like, yeah, I promise I'll get better at this, and then you don't. Or you start you start to go ahead and get the favor of your boss. You start promising things that you may be able to keep, but you don't keep because they're a little bit too hard. But one of the main things that causes people's failures at jobs and careers is punctuality. Especially at a job. You could suck at your job. You could be really bad at your job. But as long as you try, 90% of the time, you're going to be in good favor in the eyes of your boss. Because at least you're trying. And obviously, if you try, you'll get better. No matter what it is, no matter how hard it is. But if you try and you're consistent in trying, you will get better. That's just a law. Matter of fact, that's Rubin's law. I'm going to call that Rubin's law. As long as you try and you're consistent, Rubin's law says that you will go ahead and get better. I talk about it all the time. Some people are just born brainwired a certain way. Some people are just brainwired to understand mathematics. Very good. Some people are brainwired to understand, certain patterns real good. So maybe engineering or mechanics or war strategy is their thing. Some people really have the gift of gap. They can really go ahead and get people's attention, or have people really listen to them, or have people really understand them really clearly on what they're trying to say. They're brainwired just like that. And I honestly feel that there's better people out there that are better at the gift of gap than I am. But the only reason that I go ahead and have shared this information of Ulosophy and continue to share it is because I'm the only one really that can go ahead and I can go ahead and completely trust that know this information. We have members. One day they may go ahead and become, they may go ahead and really master this information at a level that I believe. And then I will go ahead, and if they have the gift of gap, I will go ahead and have them do this instead of me. Like if I could find one person that could really, they become a member of Ulosophy and they really have the gift of gap, like that's the way their brain was wired, you will not see videos of me anymore. You will start seeing videos of that person explaining the actual concepts. But of course, that's including he knows the information really well. He or she knows the information really well, and so forth. But as of right now, I'm the only one that really knows this information really well. So I'm the only one that can go ahead and give it to you. But I'm 100% sure there's I'm not really that good in the gift of gap, and I tell you why. I'll let you know why, and this is what I believe. I've been doing this since 2016. My following is not that big, although the information is marvelous, is amazing. But we don't have as many followers as a person who's been doing it for 6 months, and they have over 1,000 followers or over 10,000 followers. At this point, we haven't even reached 100. Now, the people that are our members, they tune in, but there's also people who are Ulosophy Society members, which means they're members of the Ulosophy Society, right? So they're not just members of the YouTube or the Twitter or so forth. They're members of the actual Ulosophy Society that we have, that we talk about. If you want to form membership, you can DM me at any of my Instagram, my Twitter, or you can email me at ulosophy1@gmail.com. But people are just born like that. But no matter how you are born, keeping your promises, and not only keeping the promises with others, but keeping the promises with yourself is so vital. Because if you tell yourself, I'm going to go ahead and start working out every single day for the next 90 days, if you break that promise, it's going to be harder for you to get back on that rhythm that you were, or back on the cycle that you could have been. It's going to get worse and worse. It's going to be harder and harder. That's why you know, a person once said this. They were basically in the gym, a gym junkie all the time. They said, you know, it's all one time. The first time you ever go ahead and tell yourself you're gonna go to the gym, that's gonna be the best time in your entire life that you're gonna go ahead and be able to keep that promise for whatever long you may have said it. But it's once you break it that you get to a level that you don't want. You're gonna break that promise more often. You're not gonna feel like going to these places as to these gyms and work out as much as you would have done or did the first time. That's very true. Once you start keeping your promises, that occurs a lot. And I'm just looking at some information here. There's a whole bunch of information here. All right. Yeah. So one of the concepts that we teach in philosophy is breaking agreements. Is breaking agreements with other people, or how did I write that? Okay. Breaking agreements is breaking agreements with other people and yourself. So when we say the word breaking agreements, we're talking about one of two things. It's either breaking agreements with others or breaking agreements with yourself. In relation to an agreement, it's always good to keep the agreement, or if you can acknowledge it in advance and take full responsibility and make a new agreement that you can keep. Okay. So in relation to an agreement, it's always good to keep the agreement, or if you can't acknowledge it in advance and take full responsibility, and make a new agreement that you can keep, and make a new agreement that you can keep. So basically, you know, if you acknowledge that you cannot keep it, then acknowledge also in your mind, think about whether you can go ahead and promise maybe a different agreement. So if you say I can't be there at 7, but maybe I can be there at 8, or if I can be there at 7, maybe I'll make it up to you tomorrow by being there at 6. Acknowledge it in your mind, but be honest with yourself and others. It's better to go ahead and make, like, you're afraid of making yourself look bad. You're afraid of losing that relationship. You're afraid of getting the success or getting the appreciation that you would have gotten with this person if you would have kept your agreements. That's why people lie. But look, your life will be totally better if you can just be completely honest. Some people are just lazy automatically. Bottom line, they're just lazy. Own your laziness if that's who you are. Don't go ahead and start, trying to go ahead and don't try to go ahead and start trying to go ahead and promise agreements when you know you can't keep them. Acknowledge your laziness. Now, if you're a person that's trying to go ahead and change, and you're trying to go ahead and not be as lazy as you are, then that's great. The Ulosophy system is for you. But during that time where you're trying to go ahead and elevate on that level, don't try to go ahead and lie by keeping agreements, like by saying that you're gonna go ahead and keep agreements. Excuse me. I have everything going on today, huh? Everything just is popping up. Hold on, guys. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, if you're a person that's lazy, own your laziness and just basically say, look, can't do it. You don't even have to give a reason why. 99.9% of the time. Don't give a reason why. I mean, if it's your job, yes, that's why I say 99.9% of the time. If it's your job, then of course you're gonna have to go ahead and at least say why. But well, not really. Like for example, if they tell you, "Hey, Charlie, can you go ahead and stay today a couple extra hours? We need people. Would you like to get some overtime?" Deep inside, you know the answer. But if you have to think about it a little bit, think about it. But if you know that you don't want to, just say no. Say no. I'm sorry. I can't do it. I'll try to go ahead and get you on the next one, but I can't do it today. And then don't go ahead and start lying that as well. Like, oh no, I can't do it because I have to go ahead and pick up my kid when you don't even have children. No, just say, look, I can't do it. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I have other things that I already have other engagements, and that's completely true. You do have another engagements. Your engagement may be to watch TV that day, that afternoon. I don't know. Whatever your engagement is, that's what you're going to go ahead and say. But be honest. Being truthful is the key to having a happy life, to having great friends, to having great relationships, to having a great relationship with yourself, to increase self-love, is being honest. Not only being honest with others, but being honest with yourself mainly. So if you promise yourself that you're going to go to the gym, promise yourself that you're going to go to the gym at something small. For example, you could say, all right, my goal today is to go ahead and drive up to the gym. I'm promising myself, I'm making an agreement with myself that I'm going to drive up to the gym. So your agreement is not to go inside the gym and work out. Your agreement is not to go ahead and work out 7 days a week. Your agreement is just for today, I'm going to go ahead and drive up to the gym. That's my goal. And if I can keep the goal, I'm a badass because I kept my goal. I'm a true person. You know how people say I'm real? Like I'm real? That's being really real. I'm going to keep my agreement. I'm going to just drive up to the gym. I'm going to drive up. And that's my goal. If you go ahead and drive up to the gym. Your agreement is not to go inside. Your agreement that you make with yourself is not to go ahead and break a sweat. Your agreement with yourself was just to to drive up to the gym. Matter of fact, you can say, I'm not even going to go ahead and drive into the parking lot. My agreement is to just drive by it. You go and you drive by it. Or you go and drive up in the parking lot. And who knows, maybe you're going to go ahead and feel like getting up and going inside and start working out. You're a super extra badass at that point. Not only did you go ahead and keep your agreement, but you went 100 miles over, 1,000, 1,000,000 miles over. You won the overlap. You went 1,000 miles over from what you promised that you were going to do. That's like saying, man, I said that I was going to go ahead and make $1,000 this month. I made $1 million. Or if, let's say you have a business and you have investors and you told them, all right, by the end of the year, you guys are going to go ahead and get 500,000. And they get 5 million. How much will they love you? A lot. The same thing with yourself. If you keep an agreement, no matter how small it is, and you go over it, you are going to love yourself way more. Just think about it. Think about you having a business and you have investors and you told them, look, you guys invested $1,000 into my business. I guarantee you that by the end of the year, I'm going to go ahead and double that to $2,000. And then At the end of the year, you don't do it to $2,000, but you do it to $5 million. How much will your investors love you? They'll go ahead and nearly do anything for you. The same thing with yourself. You're talking about self-love. You talk about self-care. You have to start doing things to love yourself. And that's one of the things. All this is a game. Life is a game. And the thing that we teach in Ulosophy is that you make the rules. This thing we call life is a game. But you make the rules. The problem is that you're allowing other people, or you have allowed other people to make the rules for you. That's not how it's supposed to go. You make the rules. I don't know, if you're super extra overweight, remember, life is a game and you make the rules. Other people make their own rules in their own game. In their own game, their rule is that to be a good, to look like a good, nice looking person is to go ahead and be swole with a lot of muscles and a six-pack. Well, that's their rules. You make your own rules. Although you may want to do that, but right now your rule is, look, and this is my game. This is my game. This is not nobody else's game. This is my game. And in my game, right now, the way that I look, specifically the way that I look, the amount of weight that I weigh right now, the amount of hairs that I have, the way that I look, everything that's about me right now, to me, as of right now, is perfect. And maybe one day that will go ahead and be my rule. But right now, my rule is that the way I am, literally, the way that I am right now is good. It's perfect. It's more than perfect. Have self-love. Now, you may go ahead and kind of don't feel that, but remember, you make your own rules. This is your game. This is a game, and you make your own rules. Remember that, right? So, if your goal is to go ahead and work out, I mean, like I'm telling you, make the rules. So make the rules easy for you to win. If you make the rules, why wouldn't you make it easy for you to win? Obviously, you want to win. You make the rules. Make the rules easy enough for you to win. You're going to go ahead and develop so much self-love and self-care beyond your wildest imagination if you start doing that. Remember, life is a game and you make the rules. Make the rules easy enough for you to go ahead and win. So, if you've been working out for the past 3 days and today is leg day, you really don't feel like doing it. You really don't feel like going to the gym. You're actually feeling sore. You're feeling like crap. Make the rules easy enough for you to win. Say, my goal right now, or the agreement that I'm going to keep with myself, is I'm going to get up. You got up. You won. All right. The next rule that I'm going to make is that I'm going to go ahead and get my keys. You go and get your keys. You won. All right. My next rule is that for me to win, I have to go ahead and get inside my car. You go and get inside your car. You won. All right. My next rule is to go ahead and turn on the car for me to win. You turn on the car. You won. My next goal is to go ahead and start driving. That's the rule that I'm gonna put right now. Remember, you make the rules. So my next rule is that I have to start driving for me to win. You go ahead and start driving. You won! Man, you're on the road right now. Golly, man. You're such a winner. I wish I could win as much as you. All right, so I won again. My next rule is that I'm going to go ahead and drive, I'm going to drive by the gym for me to win. So if I can drive by the gym, at least I'm going to win. You go and you drive by the gym. Now you won again. Now your next rule is I'm going to go drive up to the gym on the parking lot. If I can do that, I win. So you do that and you won again. This momentum, I mean, it sounds so silly, but the momentum that you will start getting as long as you go ahead and play the game with yourself, like you're seeing yourself win. By the time, if you do little small wins like that, by the time that you get to the gym, you're going to go ahead and do it. And let's say your next rule. Oh, my next rule for me to win is I'm a get out of my car and walk up to the gym. But walk up to the door, even if I don't get in, but just walk by, like, close to the door. You do that and you walk by the door and you won. Another win. All right, and then you say, and you don't have to say this out loud, you could say it in your mind. My next rule for me to win in this game is I'm gonna go ahead and stretch a little bit. Whatever method you have to your working out. My next goal is to go ahead and stretch a little bit. And you start to stretch. You won. So my next goal is to stretch a little bit longer, a minute. You count it. You stretch for a minute. You're winning. And then make it another easy goal for you to keep. I'm gonna stretch for the next 5 minutes. And you do it. You keep it. You won. My next goal is to go to the leg machine. Just go to the leg machine, not do it, but just go to the leg machine. So you go to the leg machine and you're seeing it. You won. All right, my next goal is to sit in the leg machine. I put myself in a position as if I was gonna use it. That's it. Not using it, but that's my rule. So you do that and you won. All right. My next goal, my next rule in this game for me to win, in my game for me to win, is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 1 rep. And you do 1 rep. Everything's hurting, but you do 1 rep. You won. That's how life is supposed to be, guys. You have to go ahead and realize that you are a winner. You are a winner. You are a winner. No matter what anybody tells you, because you make the rules to your game. Life is a game and you make the rules. Life is a game and you make the rules. Life is a game and you make the rules. Life is a game and you make the rules. Life is a game and you make the rules. Life is a game and you make the rules. You have to go ahead and drill this into your DNA, inside your DNA. You have to drill it. That's the only way the concept can be put into your DNA, drilled into your DNA, and then you'll just unconsciously competent act upon this specific concept. Now remember, the elite, why do they keep their bloodline between with the royal bloodline? They don't ever, they don't go beyond the royalty, beyond people of royalty, or beyond people of their own circle. They always marry within their own circle. Why? Because they have this concept and many more concepts drilled into their DNA. They have it in their DNA. They act upon it unconsciously competent. They don't think about it. They just do it. That is why they are so selective with who they allow their children to marry. Or they themselves are taught from an early age that you just don't marry anyone. You marry a certain person. So you have been taught this since you were a child. So by the time you get ready to marry, you know that you have to pick someone within the circle. And then you get guidance and opinions from your family members and so forth, and you'll find out whether that person is within the circle or not. If they agree, then yes. If they kind of don't agree, most of them don't agree, then it's not. So you look for another person. That's why they protect that bloodline so good, so great, and they've done it for centuries and for decades, for generations. And the reason is because these concepts are inside their DNA and they're born with it. So they just act upon it unconsciously competent. So you were not born with these concepts and you weren't taught these concepts when you were a child. Now, whatever your age, whether you're 18, you're in your 20s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you're in your 60s, doesn't matter. You're gonna go ahead and drill this into your DNA. And no matter how old your children are, you can still go ahead and put this inside their DNA, because energetically, they're gonna go ahead and fit it. And they might even act upon it unconsciously competent if you drill this inside your DNA. But you're also going to start teaching them. Remember, if you have children, you teach them until the day you die. They hear from you. You're their highest point of what's the word? You're their highest point of importance when it comes to hearing. They hear you better than anybody. They really, really hear your words, right? All right, guys, hold on. Oh, sorry guys. Okay, so they were born with it. You weren't born with it. Or remember, so even if you already have children that already been born, you can still have them drill this into your DNA, but not only teaching them, because remember, to you, they always see you as a teacher, as their guidance, as their best guidance. They love you. So go ahead and teach these concepts to your sons or your daughters, no matter how old they are, no matter how old you are. Or if you're going to go ahead and plan to have children in the future, these concepts, if you have them inside your DNA, they will be passed on. And they will be passed on for the next 7 generations. You have to be a member to know that. You have to be a member to know the information regarding that. So that's not something we're gonna go over today. But I gave you a little taste. 7 generations. So this information has to be part of your DNA. The more concepts that are part of your DNA, the more you're gonna go ahead and be successful. No matter what situation that you're in, you're going to go ahead and become a person that is an overcomer. That is why these super successful people are successful. They're not just successful because they were born into royalty or they were born into this high elite family. They still had to do what they had to do. They still had to file for a business. They still had to pay their taxes. They still have to go ahead and work the business. They still had to come up with an idea. They still had to, they tell you, people that work around these people, they tell you, man, they work 16 hours a day nonstop. It's like, I worked with him. He was an asshole, but he still worked like crazy. Like, wow, I'm impressed. Is because these concepts that we teach you in Ulosophy, they are part of their DNA. They were born with them. And not only were they born with them, they still are taught some of these concepts or new concepts. As the world evolves, they get taught new concepts, you know. And there's some that don't decide to have children, and that's totally fine. That is why many of these royal families or many of these high elite people have more than one child, excuse me. Kind of to make up for the ones that, you know, they didn't want to have a child, like maybe the brothers or sisters or they and so forth. And they don't have problems with not being able to have a child unless it's really a genetic deformed thing that they were born with. But usually, you know, they know this information, and they know that, you know, when it comes to infertility issues, the best thing for it is GTF Chromium. Remember, this research. You could go to the CDC. I think it's the CDC. One of the government websites, and you can look at all the information regarding GTF Chromium. Most of it is because of toxic, but that's the industrial chromium, the one that make chromium bumpers, the one that the movie Aaron Brockovich is about. That's what's it called? Halovescent chromium. That's not the chromium we're talking about. We're talking about whole food chromium that comes from the sugar cane that they take away 99.9% of. Chromium has, you know, whenever a baby's born, the placenta is like a protection for the baby and absorption for the baby for their minerals and their vitamins and their protein and whatever they need. So they get all this from the mother. They get all these nutrients from the mother and through the placenta. Through the placenta, these things come to the baby, and they're there to also protect the baby, to avoid toxic things for the baby. That's what the placenta is for. GTF Chromium is present. GTF Chromium has to be present to go ahead and protect the baby through the placenta of genetic diversions in cells. So that means cells that, you know, are cancerous, cells that, you know, are modeled differently, all that, you know, what's the perfect word for it? Oh, I keep forgetting these words. But you know, the cells that are genetically unfit. The GTF Chromium is there to protect those. So things like autism is avoided. Things like, you know, genetic deformities are avoided. The baby is born healthy. Remember, the brain requires more sugar per capita than any other body organ in your body, than anything else. So they know that fertility is important to them because the bloodline has to pass on. And you may go ahead and guess what? On this coming video that I'm releasing at 7 p.m., you're gonna hear more about that. But just to give you a little preview, it all started with one person. Don't think that we're just born like that. That we're born with these concepts, that we're born like that. No, it all started with one person in their family at one point in history that said, you know, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want to be wealthy. I want to have good things. I want my family to be to be all right. I want to make wealth. I want to go ahead and do this and do that. I want to become a successful person. I want to become an important person. I want to become a person that my family is proud of. I want to, grow success. It all started with one person. And that one person, went ahead. He did everything he could to go ahead and learn this information. He went ahead to try to go ahead and talk to people. He went on adventures, on routes, on trips all over the world to gain different information, spiritual information, mindset, information, financial information. All this information he had to go ahead and gather. He lived in the libraries of the towns and of the different cities he visited. He would work to go ahead and save money to go ahead and get this information, because the internet was not here for the majority of the human life. People actually had to go to libraries. They had to go to certain places, whether it was walking or with their car or with their horse, to go ahead and read information. That's how life for the most part has been. Until recently, we've got the internet, and you're so blessed to have it. So we're going to go ahead and have more people, more successful people moving forward thanks to the internet. Although there are things that we don't like about the internet that come out of the internet and so forth, but for the most part it's good, because the information is released and the information can be taught. And even if it's just one concept that a person gets into their DNA, that's just one step more. The next child may go ahead and want to learn 2 concepts. Then the next child may want to learn 3 concepts, and so forth and so forth and so forth. But it all starts with one person. It may be you. You may be the person to go ahead and change the DNA of your family forever by learning this information, by writing down this information and sharing it with your family for centuries, through dictionaries. In many families that are elite, they have books of their past family members that were made, that books that weren't published because it was just meant for their family. So they made several copies so their family could have them. I'm telling you, many elite families have this, and some of them even have scriptures like text, ancient text, in like yellow paper, and they keep it secure in a little safe and so forth, or in a little glass, and they go ahead and read it through there, but it's in genuine paper. And that's because maybe the person that decided to change the DNA, or the second person that came along, or the third person that came along, decided to go ahead and write something for the next generation, and to pass on to the next generation about success, about how to be, a successful person in this world, making them realize that life is a game and that they made their own rules, and that you got to go ahead and make the rules easy enough for you to win. They're built with this inside their DNA. So I talk about that. Hold on, guys. remembered something, and I have to go ahead and find it. Hold on. Hold on, guys. So we're not gonna end this live. I found it, but it dropped over here. Hold on. All right, guys, I'm back. Sorry, it was something I remember I had to go ahead and make sure that I had, because there's certain engagement that I have later on that I have to go ahead and have a specific thing. So found it. That's it. Good. All right, guys. So like I was saying, these people have this information in their DNA. They were born with it. So they act upon it unconsciously competent. They're unconsciously competent in this information. So when it comes to, let's say, the concept of life is a game, and you make the rules, and know or learn how, to make the rules easy enough for you to win. Why wouldn't you? So that's why many people, who are born in these families and so forth, you tell them a specific thing you're going through, and they tell you, well, like, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? For example, let's say this is my problem, that I seem to not be able to go ahead and get certain goals done or so forth. Okay. Well, they tell you, you get into a conversation with them, and then they say, hey, like, why don't you go ahead and just do specific things for you to go ahead and win, and so forth. So why don't you go ahead and make a specific things, like, why don't you just do this? Like, make the, you make the own rules. Like, this is your game. Like, make promises that you can keep, like, to yourself. Make, start with the little ones, like, be a winner and so forth. Like, why, how are you a winner? How aren't you, like, how, this is your life. Like, you're supposed to make yourself win. Like this, like, if it's like asking somebody, how do you drink water? You'd be like, what? Yeah, how do you drink water? Are you serious? That's how they go. That's usually their reaction if you tell them specific concepts, right? That are it's knowledge. So let's say a problem with discipline, and they may go ahead and tell you, like, why don't you just do it? Like the Nike theme, right? You just do it. They'll be like, I don't understand. Like, why don't you just do it? It's like people when you tell them that you're overweight, and the reason you're overweight is because you can't stop eating so much. Skinny people will go ahead and tell you, why don't you just stop eating? So they'll tell you, like, why don't you just stop eating as much? That's how crazy it sounds to them. But they don't understand that because they're overweight, they have a deficiency in chromium. So the amount of glucose that can get inside their cells is not enough. So the brain is asking them to eat more because the actual glucose is not getting inside their cells as efficient as it should. And also, with the amount of food that they're eating, their dopamine receptors, because every time you eat, your dopamine receptors open up. The majority of time, I mean, they get a lot of dopamine and they start to close like a flower, which I also talk about in the video upcoming at 7 p.m. And because they've ate so much, and many of the things that they've ate tasted so good, their dopamine receptors are a little closed in, almost like drug addicts. The same thing with them. This is why they can't stop, and this is why people don't understand. Like, I've dealt with drug addiction in my life, family members, close family members, my heart family members. I've dealt with this. So trust me, that has led me to even more research. Every time you get a big burst of huge dopamine, your dopamine receptors in your brain, the ones that receive the dopamine, go like this. Then you give it another big burst, they go like this. Then you give it another big burst, it goes like this. And it goes and the addict's dopamine receptors is like this. That's why they need higher volumes of whatever they're intaking. Because their dopamine receptors are so close, for them to even get some dopamine in there, they need a higher dose. And that is why, if, for example, when you hear things about that fentanyl thing, people's receptors are normal, and they get this huge amount of certain amount. What happened here? Am I not live no more? Or did I have to go to another live? Automatically live. Guys, is this what happened? It looks like my live stopped, and then it automatically went to another live. I'm gonna look this up after I get off the live. It was weird. Just started another live for me automatically. I guess a certain amount of time it starts another live. I don't know, but I've seen lives that are like 3 hours long, so I don't know why. Maybe because I just don't have enough followers. I don't know. Well, anyway, so the dopamine receptors are like this, and they get a normal dose for what would be an addict, but to them, since they're so open, they absorb more of it, so their bodies would just go crazy. If that addict had his dopamine receptors open like that, even though he's an addict, but let's say magically they open back up and he would get that dose, he would have overdosed as well. But because his dopamine receptors are so close, that huge amount, there's only so much that can get in there because they're close. They're like a flower. This is where the flower of life concept comes from. Addictions. So opening up your dopamine receptors, that's key. That's one thing that we go ahead and do in Ulosophy. Imagine, like, there's many people that have written me and that have thanked me for this information, because let me tell you, there's people from all sides of lives and with all kinds of problems. And I've heard them all. One problem that I heard, and that this person literally thanked me, right? Literally said, look, like, I can tell you, you literally changed my life. And I say, why? Well, let me go ahead and explain to you. I was a person that was so needy. I'm not gonna say if it's male or female. Both have actually, both genders have told me about this. I was a person that was so needy that I suffered a lot in life with my relationships, and they would break because I was so needy. I always had to go ahead and know where they were. I always had thoughts in the back of my head that they were talking to someone else. I always had to go through their phone. I always had to go ahead and they had to, I needed them to go ahead and answer my call, at 12 a.m., even though they're just a nights out with their buddies. And I needed to know where he was at, what he was doing exactly. And then I will call him again an hour later, and so forth. And the same thing with guys. They say the same thing. I tell them to go ahead and take GTF Chromium and also Vitex, Chastberry extract. Both of those things have been researched, and is written research. Look it up, guys. Look it up. It's hard to find that research. That's why you don't see it anywhere else. One person talks about it, and there's only one person I've ever heard talk about it, and that was John Gray and Chris Barr. Not a dot, rest in peace. John Gray from the Venus, Women Are From Venus, Men Are From Mars thing. He is the only one I've ever heard talk about this, and he talks about it a little bit. And Chris Barr talked about it a little bit more. But chromium and Vitex Chastberry extract, this is just plants, this is just food, guys. This is not medicine, this is just food. We're talking about in a whole food form. These two things open up the dopamine receptors. That is why these people have their life changed. Their dopamine receptors, for whatever reason, are shut to a certain level that it even affects their relationships. Could be many reasons, and I don't have time to go over all the reasons. That's another live, that's another video. But their dopamine receptors open up, and they start taking GTF Chromium and Vitex Chastberry extract, and they start seeing their life change. Like, suddenly they don't feel like eating as much as they once did. They don't find themselves calling their other half as much. They begin to trust them more. They suddenly feel like they don't need them as much around them. Like, they give that person their space, and they believe that they deserve a space too. Suddenly they're not blowing up their other half's phone. Suddenly there's less arguments because the person is not as needy anymore. It looks like that was one of their main issues. Or people who want a relationship, they go ahead and talk to a person with the respect, and tell them what they are, what they like, just like you meet a person. But they're not as needy as they once were before. Like, they don't get so excited upon the text from that person. Of course, that normal sense of excitement comes. It's natural. But it's not like, oh God, she or he didn't text me, he must not like me. And they're constantly looking at the phone. change lives, save relationships. I'm sure it can save divorces as well. So if you have come to a point that you feel you are at that point with a relationship, you feel you're very needy, you need to know where that person is, or you don't trust that person, or you feel like you can't live without that person, GTF Chromium and Vitex will go ahead and handle that. Just like you would go ahead and handle addictions of any kind. Lives change. And taking B6 also every day. Whenever you eat protein, you take a B6 so you can digest your protein. Because with all this, low dopamine receptors, you've probably been in fight or flight a lot, in the fight or flight mode. So when you're in that state, your body stop digesting protein as a survival mechanism. So you stop getting amino acids to your brain. So not only is your dopamine receptors already closed, but you get less dopamine from your food. You get less serotonin and so forth. It's all chemical imbalance, yes, but it needs to be fixed. And the only thing that I have found it to fix it, that I have researched. I've researched everywhere. I'm telling you, I've been doing this since I was 15 years old. I've been researching all these things since I was 15 years old. I've been taught this information since I was 15 years old. The only two things that I found that will go ahead and alleviate addiction for good will be chromium, GTF Chromium, and Vitex, Chastberry extract. Quick fun fact regarding Chastberry extract. Chastberry extract was discovered by monks, certain monks, Buddhist monks, I believe. Buddhist or Christian monks, Catholic monks, one of those, but it was a set of monks. So for them to go ahead and, because of their belief, they believe in being chaste, which means not having sex, or not even masturbating. They believe it. So they believe in being chaste. So they saw that they were having a problem. Many of them would masturbate a lot, fortunately. And they know that that's against their beliefs. So to fix this problem, they got Chastberry. They found Chastberry extract, which it may have been called a different thing at that time, but we call it Chastberry extract. So they start getting the Chastberry extract, and they started doing it in tea, and they started drinking it, and they saw that their masturbation addictions would go away. Their strong desire of sex would go away. They still had a normal sex drive, but see, a normal sex drive, you can control it. You have an easier time controlling it. When you have a super sex drive, that's when you are addicted to sex, or you're addicted to climaxing. That's harder to control. But with Chastberry extract, the monks saw that their masturbation addiction would go away. And then as time went on, they started using it, and they started spreading it around to other religions and so forth. And then science got to it, and they started researching, and there's papers out there. They found that they open up the dopamine receptors to normal. Another fun fact, in Mexico, doctors, Mexican doctors that went to school, they trained, they were trained to be doctors. They wanted to have college degrees and everything. In Mexico, doctors can write their own prescriptions. They could write themselves their own prescriptions, whether it's it's a controlled substance or not. They write their own prescriptions. It's legal. So what started happening is that many of these doctors, once these drugs, strong drugs, start coming out, like what do they call all these opium drugs, oxycodone, and hydrocodone, and all these opiates started coming out. They will write themselves prescriptions. They will never feel, withdrawal symptoms, because they would always be able to have it, because they will write themselves their own prescriptions. Well, they started becoming addicted, but they were functioning addicts. They still did their work, and they did a good work. I mean, so far, the only thing is that they were addicted to these drugs. So, these clinics, there's clinics in Mexico. I guess one of these doctors started focusing on building those or something, because there's more and more every single year. Think about it. A lot of drugs, especially like specifically cocaine. Remember, like to get to the United States, usually it crosses, I think, like 70% of all cocaine in America goes through Mexico. So think about it. Not only do Mexicans have the opportunity to get some pure stuff that is not too cut, some could get pure stuff, but they have it much accessible. Why don't they have an addiction problem like we do? I mean, there's so many cartels. They get so many drugs. Don't you think they could get opiates as well, or make their own? Fentanyl's down there. Why aren't they having such a drug addiction problem like Americans? Well, not only is it because chromium is the most depleted mineral in the foods in America, and it's the most depleted mineral in humans in America, but also is because the medical industry, unfortunately, I wish they could one day. I mean, I respect them, totally respect them. I mean, come on, if you get in an accident or something, God forbids, the medical industry has made wonders to make you survive. But I'm not going to talk about the medical industry. Respect them. I just hope that one day they can go ahead, and because this is research information, this is medical research information. What I'm saying, I wish they can go ahead and tackle this problem, at least at the rate that Mexico and many other countries have. So in Mexico and in many other countries, they have clinics. And in these clinics, you come in, you're drug addicted, and you come in and you want to get off that addiction. They have rehabs and everything, but mostly these clinics do the job. So you go and you sit down, and they hook you up to an IV. And the IV has easy to digest proteins. And they have minerals like GTF Chromium in a whole food form. So they look them up, and they get these, this IV of easy to digest proteins. So what does that mean? Remember, when you're in fight or flight for so long, your protein is not being able to digest, and let alone if you're a super addicted person, you're not even eating, so you're not even getting the protein you need to go ahead and get your brain acting back to normal. So Even if they would have gave you some protein right there, or you would have ate some protein. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. Even if you were to able to eat some protein, you wouldn't be able to fully digest it because you're in fight or flight. Remember, you're in withdrawals. You're sweating. You're having these pains. You're definitely in fight or flight. So they get these easy to digest proteins, something that your body can easily digest. Protein that can be easily digested. So you can go ahead and start creating all the amino acids that you need for your brain. That will go ahead and start fixing your brain and will start opening the dopamine and serotonin receptors. They do this for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then that's it. That's it. Goodbye. Okay, thank you. They're out of that addiction. They didn't suffer through withdrawal symptoms. They didn't start getting diarrhea and throwing up all over the place. No, they would just go a couple times a week to get their IV, and they did it for 2 or 3 weeks. And then that's it. They say, all right, well, thank you so much. If you ever get addicted again, come back. That's it. They have these clinics in Mexico and in many other countries. And people, and the reason that I know that is because doctors Mexican doctors have said that, in Mexico they can write their own prescriptions, and they give testimonies to say, look, I was addicted to oxycodone or whatever it's called, and I would write myself prescriptions, and I would take 20 pills a day, and so forth. I had this problem, and in Mexico we have clinics where you can go ahead and get an IV, get some easy to digest proteins, and then that's it. I'm back to normal. The dopamine receptors open back up. Nothing opens up the dopamine receptors. There has nothing that has been found to open up the dopamine receptors other than GTF Chromium and Vitex, Chastberry extract. Nothing else. Medical papers explain it, show it, just documented. I don't know what else to go ahead and tell you or show you. That's it. So if you're having issues with addictions or any sort of unnatural or odd addiction behavior, like being too needy, needing a person, that specific loved one, that specific lover of yours next to you all the time or so forth, that's not normal behavior. You're supposed to want them. You're supposed to love them. You're supposed to go ahead and want to be with them, but not in a way that you're gonna feel bad, like if they're not around. Imagine you not being needy no more. Imagine you being a person that just, has a normal sex drive, has normal, you want to see them, but it's like a normal. I don't know how to explain it. Just being normal, not being overly, this has saved relationships. I'm still waiting to get a testimony from somebody who has been divorced and had this issue. This helped them. This information helped them, but I haven't. But I've gotten them from relationships, people who are in relationships, like girlfriend, boyfriend, but I haven't gotten one from divorces. But I'm pretty sure it works the same. Or whatever you're addicted to. If you're addicted to overeating, if you're addicted to, sodas, if you're addicted, if you have OCD as well. Many people go down there for those specific clinics, those who suffer from that disease that Muhammad Ali had. Jesus, what's the name of it? I want to know the name of it. I want to remember it. Parkinson's. Remember, anytime you try to remember something and you can't, this is another concept. Anytime you're trying to remember something and that you just can't, this is the process that you'll do. You put your head straight, and then you'll look up, and then turn your eyes to the right, and turn your eyes to the left. Turn your eyes to the right, turn your eyes to the left. Turn your eyes to the right, turn your eyes to the left. Turn your eyes to the right, turn your eyes to the left. Turn your eyes to the right, turn your eyes to the left. That opens up avenues in your brain so you could remember stuff better. Remember right now when you saw me, you know, I had my phone like down, so it looked like I picked up my head up, but I really tried to put it straight, and then I started looking up, going to the right, going to the left, going to the right. See, I do this unconsciously. I just do it. I just do it unconsciously. It's part of my DNA. I just do it. That's where I want you to be. Okay? So, yeah, I talked about addictions, but I want to talk about a little bit more regarding, let's see. I'll talk about it a little bit more. I'm not going to make this live too long. But I'm going to go like this. Yeah, so remember, it's perfectly okay to fail, make mistakes, or break agreements. Nobody's perfect. The key is simply taking full responsibility and moving forward. Now, even though I talked about keeping your agreements and how you're supposed to keep your agreements, if you can't do nothing, you know, be honest and don't take on any agreement you know you can't fulfill, you're still going to go ahead and take on agreements, promises that you can't fulfill. You're still going to do it. It's the human world. It's the human body, it's the human brain, it's the human person. No matter how, if you take all these minerals, you're still going to do it. We all make mistakes. Remember, it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I promise. It's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay to break agreements. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I'm serious. It's all right. Nobody is perfect. Nobody's perfect. Not a soul is perfect. Remember the story of Jesus with the lady that was caught, in a sexual act? I think with a married man. They wanted to stone her. Jesus stopped and said, "Which one of you are sinless, have not committed ever a sin? If that person is here, throw the first stone." Everybody started leaving. And the Bible said everybody started leaving with the oldest first. So even if, people, I've heard people say, "Oh, well, you just, once I get older, I'll be more experienced," and so forth and so forth. Or once I get older, I'll be, I'll be better. I'll think more. Right now I'm just trying to enjoy my life. That verse tells you, everybody started walking away. Was Jesus said, "Which one of you, have not ever committed a sin? You that has not committed the sin, go ahead, throw the first stone." Everybody started leaving, beginning with the oldest. So even then you have condemnation. Even then you have problems. Even then you feel, you have these issues, man. Don't think that just by getting older, that once you get older, that's when you're going to go ahead and come to Jesus. That once you get older, you're going to go ahead and get yourself straight. That once you get older, you're going to stop addicting, with your addiction. That once you get older, you're going to go ahead and start learning this information. Once you get older, you're going to try to go ahead and do the best to become a Ulosophy member. No. No. Now, the key is simply taking full responsibility and moving forward. So I teach this, and I have many videos on YouTube, on TikTok, and on Instagram, I believe. The key to realizing that everything is okay and that nobody's perfect, and that it's fine if you break the agreement. It's totally fine. Just take full responsibility for it. Taking full responsibility for it, it's like confronting it face to face, and being okay with it. See, the reason you go ahead and whenever you break agreements, you become this person of guilt and shame, and it literally you start backing out of a lot of things, is because you're afraid to fail. You're naturally a good person, but you're afraid to go ahead and let anybody down. So the more agreements you break, the more you will run off on people. Once things start getting good, you will start running off on people. That means that once you see a relationship, you have a relationship, for example, and it starts working out and it's beautiful and everything, deep inside, you're going to feel like you don't deserve it because you have broken many agreements. Because you don't want to face that. You don't want to face that. See, naturally, you're a good person, so you don't want to face that you have broken many agreements. You don't want to face that you have sinned. You don't want to face that you have done some ugly things. That will go ahead and make you run off from something that is good. So you ever ask yourself why nobody seems to like you and make your relationship work? The problem could not be them. The problem could be you. The key is taking full responsibility and moving forward. So just think of something that you know you have broken an agreement on, whether it's with yourself, whether it's breaking agreement with yourself or with another person. Think about it and just say, and you can do this mentally. You don't have to do this, and you don't have to go ahead and find this person. You're just going to say this. You're going to be, I'm sorry. I apologize that I broke that agreement. I take 100% full responsibility. And feel it. Taking 100% responsibility for everything that you've done. Taking 100% responsibility for everything that you've done. You're taking is 100% responsibility your fault. Even if it's not, take 100% responsibility. You see how it feels, it kind of is painful for you to go ahead and confront that. But then at the same time, once you start confronting it, you kind of feel a little bit of relief, a little bit of peace. That's because when you start taking full responsibility for your actions, that specific pain, that specific trauma that you have due to breaking agreements so many times, leaving so many people down, letting yourself down, letting so many people down, all that hurts you, and all that is pain, all that is negative energy. Negative energy is it has weight to it. I think it was MIT or Harvard. I think it was Harvard. Harvard made a study on. I think it was Harvard. Harvard made a study on a special program or a special procedure that was invented in Sedona, Arizona, called the Sedona method. The Sedona method was studied in this big college, and it confirmed that this specific procedure, this specific practice, relieves or releases body mass from the body. Like they've waited at I don't know how tense, but they waited and they found that this method actually does relieve body mass, or release mass from the body. Go look it up, the Sedona method. It was by Harvard or MIT, one of those big colleges. It was proven that using that method, releases body mass from the body. And the reason is because all these things, all these negative energies, they have mass to it. You know, I want you to think as positive energy as like helium, that it goes up, and negative energy as if it's dark and slimy and it goes down and it sticks and sticky. The Sedona method is this just what I just said, taking full responsibility and confronting it, and then being okay with it and just letting it go. Being okay, taking 100% responsibility. And that allows you to let it go. That's what the Sedona method is. That's another thing that we recommend in the Ulosophy System. You know, it's part of the spiritual side as well. The Sedona method. Practice the Sedona method. If you don't know what it is, look it up. Go on YouTube, go on Google. You'll find out what it is. It's such a great method. It's something so beautiful. I did it. I remember that was I did it for the whole year. I just focused on that specific method while learning all these concepts. But there was one year that that method came. I was introduced to it, and I practiced it, and I went all in, guys. So I know a lot about that method. So that's another thing that we suggest. We will advise you to go ahead and do, and that's the Sedona method. Look it up, find it, learn what it is, learn how it works. It's very easy, and you will find relief immediately. See, there's only been like 3 things that I have seen. Well, actually 4 things. Yeah, 4 things that I have seen or felt like immediate relief from. Like I felt something, a weight off of my shoulders, and it changed me. I felt like a negative energy it just dropped off. So only 4 things. 1, listening to audio, video of no condemnation, of relieving condemnation and relieving unrestfulness through Jesus Christ. Listening to a sermon for 1 hour, I immediately feel it. 45 minutes, I feel it. That's all I need really for the day, you could say. If I do 3 sermons in a row, oh my God, I'm like a different totally person. And that's a video or audio on on relieving condemnation and relieving unrestfulness, which is the 2 main things that the Ulosophy spiritual concept or practice is about, that we teach. So that's 1. 2, it would be Dianetics and Scientology. I know Scientology is very controversial, and I'm not, that's another thing we suggest. And the Ulosophy system, it may not be for you, and that's totally fine. Doesn't work for anybody. Even the creator of Scientology, which was L. Ron Hubbard, said Scientology is not for everybody. He even said it. So it might not be for you. But the second most powerful thing, apart from the Jesus experience, Jesus Christ, was the system that they call Dianetics and Scientology, which is basically, they call it auditing. Basically, you sit in front of another person. That person, you hold these two like sensors, one with your left, one with your right, and that sort of reads your energy. So as you're talking, and you're talking through a certain problem that has been bothering you, that little meter can go ahead and see where the specific energy is by moving up. So you might be talking and saying yes, and I remember I was walking through the door and stop right there. What was that you just felt? What was that feeling? What was that thought? When I said I was walking through the door, yes, that's it. Yeah, I was walking through the door, and let's see, it was, yeah, and I remember that I was walking through the door, and then as soon as I stepped in, I started, feeling this horrible fear, you know, that I closed my eyes and I pinched them so hard. And as you start talking, it starts relieving it because you're confronting it. You're confronting it. See, that's the problem with these traumas, these bad experiences that we've had. We don't want to confront them. We don't want to take responsibility for them. We have to confront them. The Bible says that for you to be clear of sins, you must confess. You must confess your sins. That is why in the Catholic Church they have confession. And it works the same way. They feel the exact same way. They feel the exact same relief from confessing in Catholicism. So, Dianetics and Scientology. 3. Roger Callahan's method, TFT, thought field therapy, which is another thing we teach in the Ulosophy System. TFT, which basically, the belief is that there's channels, not like neuron channels, but energy channels all over our body, from the bottom of our feet to the sole of our head, the sole of our head to the bottom of our feet. There's energy channels, and whenever you have some trauma or a bad experience, that one of those channels gets blocked. So that channel needs to be relieved, so all the energy can be running smoothly. And Roger Callahan discovered that through tapping through certain parts of the body, like in the side of the eye, under the eye, on the chin, on the nose, on the side of the eye, on the side of the pinky, side of the index, side of the middle finger, and on the side of the hand. All these methods, all these tappings, they sort of like push out a wave through the energy channel. Boom. Like imagine a big wave of blown air. Boom. And whenever you're thinking about that specific thing that is bothering you, you do this tapping, and it's sending out this whoop, 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 this non-stop blowing of waves to go ahead and blow that negative energy out. Now, sometimes you have to go ahead and do specific sequences for specific things. So sometimes you have to go ahead and talk to a TFT professional for that, and they have this thing called voice technology, similar to Dianetics, where they, with the meter, they kind of, with your voice, they do the certain thing, and they see it on the computer and so forth, and they see exactly what sequence you need. And then they go like, do this sequence, instead of tapping on top of your eye, on the side of your eye first, start tapping on the under your eye first, and then do this, and they give you a certain sequence, and boom, you feel a dramatic effect. A dramatic feeling of reliefness. And then they go like, okay, then they record your voice again, and then they give you another sequence. They go, and then boom, until it's gone. It's gone. All right, well, if you have anything, if you have it again, or if you have any other problem, just give me a call. Boom. TFT and Dianetics. And then the fourth would be the Sedona method. The Sedona method. So basically, it's just, you're confronting it, and then you're just letting it go. That's what the Sedona method is. I would suggest you go ahead and read up on it, study it. It's on the YouTube, but I'm gonna go ahead. I think I already have a video on it, but if not, I think I'm gonna go ahead and make a video on it, because that's one of the things that we teach in the Ulosophy method. So remember, it's perfectly okay to fail, make mistakes, or break agreements. Nobody's perfect. The key is simply taking full responsibility and moving forward. Now, we went over 3 concepts. I hope you're writing these down. That's one thing. Whenever you're you're hearing me, and I'm talking about, I'm doing the Ulosophy motivation, which is talking about the mindset, the concepts that we teach in the mindset part of Ulosophy. I want you to write those down, okay? Yeah, once you become a member, you get an actual list of all these concepts. But for you guys, I just released them here through the voice. So I'm assuming, and I hope that you're writing them down, because whenever you write down something, you're making over 10,000 neural pathways in your brain. Whenever you write, not type, not punch in on your phone, but write, especially if you're writing cursive in first hand. You write, over 10,000 neural pathways are being built in your brain. So that means that over 10,000 neural pathways are towards this specific concept are being pushed into you, being drilled into your DNA. That's why mainly saints came from in Catholicism, because remember, in Catholicism at one point they were killing Christians and they were burning Bibles. So if it wasn't for the Catholic Church, we wouldn't have the Bible. It wouldn't have survived, because they were burning it by the thousands, every copy. So the Catholic Church made an underground bunker or something underground, and they would have monks there, and it would be completely secure but completely hidden. And those monks would handwrite the Bible, each one by one, and they would make copies and copies of it. That's the only way, that's the only reason that the Bible survived, the books of the Bible. If it wasn't for the Catholic Church, we would not have the Bible today. So everybody has those monks, those Catholic monks, those Catholic Church to thank for the Bible. Those of you who everybody makes things and they're not right, certain things that are not right, I know, but everybody and everywhere has a little bit of crazy people in there, and sometimes, unfortunately, this is how you go ahead and find out who they are, but we have to go ahead and have this knowledge so we can go ahead and acknowledge who the evil parasites in our organizations, in our friendships, in our families are, so we could just stay away from them. So I went over 3 concepts. I hope you're writing them down. This is alive. I hope you're writing them down or typing them on your phone at least. So we went over breaking agreements is breaking agreements with other people and yourself. So whenever we say breaking agreements, we're talking about either breaking agreements with other people or with yourself as well. In relation to an agreement, it's always good to keep the agreement. Or if you can't, acknowledge it in advance and take full responsibility and make a new agreement that you can keep. So you are able to go ahead and, it's a good thing to keep the agreement, but if you can't, just acknowledge it, confront it and say, look, I can't. And it's totally okay for you to go ahead and make a new agreement. Say, look, I can't at 7, but I could probably do at 8. Or if you can, just say, look, I'm not going to be able to make it until like 9:30. I don't know if you guys will still be there, but I won't make it until 9:30. If that's cool, then I'll go ahead and try to go. But remember, at 9:30, I'll stop this, and then I still have to drive over there. So I'll probably get over there around 10. Like that. Be real. Be honest. It's okay. And it's perfectly okay to fail. Make mistakes or break agreements. Nobody's perfect. The key is simply taking full responsibility and moving forward. That's it. That's all it is. Everybody, even though you may have the best training and you've been training since you were 2, these concepts, you still will go ahead and make mistakes. Nobody's perfect. But the thing is that you have to realize that it's perfectly okay to fail or make mistakes or break agreements. It's okay. The key here is taking full responsibility and moving on. Just take full responsibility and move it on. And if you broke an agreement with someone and you apologize to them and they don't understand, it's totally okay as well. If they don't understand, it's because they've broken more agreements than they can ever imagine themselves. That is why taking responsibility for broken agreements is very vital. Because if you don't, then when somebody lets you down, you're going to cause a big emotion, bigger than you can imagine, because you have broken so many agreements and you haven't taken responsibility for them and cleared them. And they're like a chain. So the more times that you remember things that you have broken agreements on, and take responsibility for them, and in your mind just apologize to that person or apologize to yourself and say, I'm sorry, but I take 100%, not 90%, not 99%, or it was a little bit of your fault. No, even if it was a little bit of their fault, you're taking 100% responsibility for breaking that agreement, and you're apologizing. That's it. And you don't have to go ahead and find that person from 20 years ago, try to find them on Facebook and try to, no. You can do this in your mind. Just imagine that person in front of you and you apologize and saying, I'm sorry, and then just saying, I take 100% responsibility for it. And the more and more times you remember these agreements that you have broken, the more and more you will be relieved. You'll feel peace. You'll feel a weight off your shoulders, and you will go ahead and you will start keeping more agreements than ever. You'll start being a real person. You know how people say, I'm real? I'm real. I'm a real person. I'm real, man. I keep it real. You will really keep it real. So remember that. All right. One last one, and then we'll stop this live, guys. So there are 5 things that are stopping you from taking this knowledge and applying it. There's 5 things that are stopping you from taking this knowledge and applying it. So everything we teach in Ulosophy, there are 5 things that are stopping you from taking this knowledge and applying it. Taking this knowledge and also applying it. Not just taking this knowledge, but also applying it as well. One is your programs, based on the decisions and postulates that you've made. So the programs is basically actions, or things that programs are those things that you have that are basically, it's like little ants in your ear that are telling you, oh, you ain't good enough, or you ain't, you won't do it. Oh yeah, you won't succeed. Oh no, that's impossible. You don't do it. Those negative thoughts, those are programs. So those programs were based or were created by you through certain decisions and postulates that you've made. So certain decisions that you've made has caused this, or certain postulates, things that have happened has caused this. So, and maybe, you really liked the girl one day, you went up to her and she literally rejected you. You weren't her type, but doesn't mean that will happen every single time. Matter of fact, if you try more, there's more. You'll find out that there's more people that really like you. Like if you're a man, more women, more girls will really like you than not. If you're a woman, more guys will like you than not. Other than for sex, if you try, you become a better person, obviously. But because of that one thing, we allow one thing to go ahead and stop us from trying to go ahead and, move forward. So those postulates. So one is the programs based on the decisions that you've made and postulates you've made. Second is from people in authority. The second is from what people in authority told you. So people in authority is people that you feel are higher than you. So maybe when you were young, a teacher, which was your authority, told you you'll never become anything, or you're dumb, you'll never become successful, or you'll never go to college, or you'll never make so much money because you're dumb or whatever, or no matter, or maybe another person, or maybe even your parents told you had a bad childhood, or whoever, somebody older than you. Usually when we're children, an older person is an authority. So second is from what people in authority have told you. So maybe they've told you that, and it has stuck around, and deep inside that little program turns on and keeps telling you, no, no, no. Remember, you're not going to become anything. Remember that teacher told you, and this is all unconsciously, and you just act upon it. So even you stop before you even try, right? So you go after a certain job and that requires the skills, even though you have them, even though you feel real good about them, this program starts playing your mind, and you stop before you even try. Third is from programming from the media, newspapers, TV, radio, movies, music, etc. The media. The media has given us and it's really not giving us information, it's really more of entertainment. But there's certain things in the movies, in the media, in the music that has really rotten parts of our brain. You have to go ahead and listen to everything in discernment. But unfortunately, things we've seen in movies, things we heard in music, things we've seen in newspapers, things we've read, things we've seen in TV, in the media, make it sound like it's this way when it's not. A good example is relationships. You see a Disney movie or a movie that, oh my God, is such a beautiful love story. That was a made-up story that someone wrote, and usually it never happens like that. Some things on there could happen like that, but not like that. They never happen like that. That's an example. But there's many other things, negative things that the media, the programming from the media, newspapers, TV, radio, movies, music, etc., has given us that a lot of music, hip hop music right now talks a lot about killing. I'm gonna kill this one person, man. I mean, the music sounds good. The bass, the way that person is expressing it, it goes with the music, and you feel turned up or whatever. But I mean, the lyrics. Look at the lyrics, man. Now, fourth is programs from the field, energy field, collective consciousness, ether, or matrix, which are both collective programs and specifically placed programs. You heard that? See, this is what we talk about in Ulosophy. Fourth is programs. Remember, programs are those little voices you hear in your head that makes you not want to go for after you want. You see a beautiful woman that you like, a beautiful girl that you want. You stop yourself before you even think about how to approach, because you feel that you're unworthy. Those are programs. But the fourth reason why this information that we're teaching you, stopping you from being taken in and applying it. The fourth reason is programs from the field, energy field, collective consciousness, ether, or matrix. I want you to go ahead and just think about it. I'm not asking you to believe, but I just want you to go ahead and think about it. That and Thomas Edison and Napoleon Hill talked about this, and many other books during that time of J.P. Morgan, Henry Ford talked about it. Henry Ford talked about this. There's things in the ether. I want you to think that, apart from what you see, we have like the ether. It's like we have Wi-Fi, we have, tower for cell phones and so forth, and there's signals that are going back and forth, but we don't see them. Well, I want you to imagine there's something above it that's called an ether, and that we're all connected to it. Just like your phone is connected to the tower, and the tower is connected to the other tower, and that's how we go ahead and share information via internet and so forth. I want you to imagine the same thing, but for us, people. I want you to think about us being connected to a collective, a field that's all around us or above us, and we're all connected. It's like a certain thing that's stuck. Like, remember in the Matrix where Neo had something stuck in the back of his head? I want you to imagine something like that, like some sort of wire or something is connected to you, and then it's connected to this field. And in that field, everything that has ever been thought or taught or spoken and everything is there. Have you ever talked and you were talking and suddenly something real badass, something really cool came out? Like, damn, how did that come out? I want you to think about there's an ether, and all the information is all in the ether. All your information that you have ever expressed. And some of the information that you've expressed, you've gathered from the ether. But I want you to also realize that a lot of negative things are up there as well. You know, everything that we have thought about, thought and spoken, and everything we've done, all the memories and so forth are up there. But also the bad things, the negative energies. And then I want you to go ahead and just think about, just think about it. I'm not asking you to believe it, but I want you to think about that there's negative people out there. Well, there's people that are actually, they think they're positive, but they're actually negative, and that they're consciously applying negative things up there so they can reach you. Just a thought. I'm not asking you to believe it and so forth, but that's, this is some high level shit right here. It's something we teach to our members at higher levels. Usually I don't teach this here. It's like trying to teach you trigonometry when you haven't even learned to divide. That's how it is. That's why I don't teach this. But I'm just gonna give you I'm dropping a little seed. So that's the fourth reason. The fifth reason is broken agreements. The fifth reason is broken agreements. That's why we have to clear our broken agreements. By closing our eyes, we're just imagining that person that we broke the agreement to, whether someone else or ourselves, and saying, I'm sorry, I apologize, I take 100% full responsibility. And the more you feel that 100% responsibility, the more release, the confrontation you feel, but the more release you start to feel. And it starts going away. Yeah, guys. So how y'all thought about that ether talk? I mean, look at Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill was sponsored by Andrew Carnegie for 20 years to go ahead and be around successful people. He introduced him to all these super successful people. And for 20 years, he told them to observe and take notes. So at the end of 20 years, he can come out with a thesis or certain a book or a certain document or report of what is the common denominators with rich people and how they stay rich or how they became rich by even interviewing, talking to them, and so forth. Napoleon Hill talks about the ether and how everybody believes in it. On the high class, they believe in this ether. Look it up. Thomas Edison talked about ether. Albert Einstein talked about that there's an ether. It's true. Just look it up. Man, we have more information than we ever could, and we have ways to go ahead and find information better than we ever could, we ever had. Go look it up. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Napoleon Hill, all these super successful people always believed in the ether. So look it up, guys. All right. There was a long live, guys. It was split into two. I don't know how or why. I think maybe because I just don't have enough followers that it cut at a certain point, and then it started another one, or I may have hit a button accidentally. I don't know, but it was split into two, and each one is about an hour or so. So you got 2 hours of good information. Listen to this live again and again and again, and listen to the other videos again and again and again. I have a playlist of where you can start if you haven't started, and if you have, you know, ran away from the road, you can come back, and that's the perfect, those videos right there are perfect comebacks that will get you back into spirit, the Holy Spirit and Jesus Christ, and they will get you back into that good mindset if you listen to those videos. So the one playlist is the spiritual side, where I'll talk about no condemnation and also no restfulness, right? How we have condemnation and we have restful and we have unrestfulness. We feel condemned and we don't feel at rest. Those videos will go ahead and teach you and take you on another dimension to go ahead and get rid of that, and that will go ahead and follow you to other videos. Just look them up. They're on YouTube, and go on my TikTok as well, go on my Twitter, go on my Instagram. There's videos there as well, but mostly here is on YouTube. If you're already part of the program, the spiritual side, I'm gonna go ahead and make a playlist where I'm just gonna have the spiritual side, and then I'm gonna have the mindset side, and then I'm gonna have the financial side. So I'm gonna start doing that, getting everything playlisted, so you guys don't have to go ahead and look them up for yourself, because there's many videos that talk about all three. So, but I'm gonna see which ones will go where, and see which one has more content of this and that and that. I may have talked about the three concepts, about all four concepts, but maybe the concept of gathering was the main thing. So I'll put that in the playlist of the concept of gathering. All this information is free. I don't charge a dime. I don't charge nothing. I don't charge a penny. Everything is free. This life, I don't get paid for it. It's free. If you ever want to donate anything, you do it through PayPal at ulosophy1@gmail.com. That's ulosophy, the number 1 @gmail.com. But I have another project going on, which is the sacrificing project. If you can sacrifice money to that email through PayPal, and you're sacrificing money to make a statement that you believe in the freedom of religion and freedom of belief. Freedom of religion, freedom of belief. You're making that statement by sacrificing money to that specific email. Just make sure you put it in the subject line, or if not, just DM me with your transaction number. Say, look, this was for the sacrifice, as opposed to donating or anything else. Every dollar that you sacrifice is one Ulosophy ticket. It's one ticket. It may not be called a ticket a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. It may be called something else. But you'll receive one Ulosophy ticket. And that Ulosophy ticket will be worthless. It will not be worth anything. Nothing, nada. But you know, Bitcoin wasn't worth anything at one time. Hex wasn't worth anything at one time. When they were drawing the Mona Lisa, it wasn't worth anything at that time. When Picasso was painting, his painting wasn't worth anything at that time. When Frida was painting her first picture, her second picture, third picture, whatever, it wasn't worth anything. But at one day it did. One day it did, and it was worth a lot. So the same thing here. Look, from what we have planned, from what we have going, I'm just gonna say this. I would go ahead and get as many tickets as I can by sacrificing. Because maybe one day, it'll be worth something. right? So go ahead and sacrifice on that email, just ulosophy1@gmail.com, ulosophy the number one at gmail.com. Just go to PayPal and just you can put in the email address and donate to that email address, and you know you'll have your transaction number and everything, and just make sure you put right there somewhere where it allows you to write a message. This is for the sacrifice. Freedom of religion or freedom of belief. Okay. So that way you could go ahead and get accounted for your tickets that you'll be receiving. Also, if you sacrifice more than $33, if you sacrifice more than $33, I will go ahead and personally, well, not personally, but I will go ahead and send you my course, which is really not a course, but it's really more like videos that I have made that kind of guide you, kind of have all the information of all four basics all in one, but also that those videos have information that maybe were meant to be released on the YouTube channel, but they had sacred information, as what we call it in Ulosophy membership. It had sacred information that we just wouldn't release to the public. So, after much negotiating, the Ulosophy Council has allowed these specific videos to be released to the public only if you sacrifice more than $33. If you're donating money to Ulosophy, which I'm not asking for, but if you're donating money, you have to go ahead and make a donation over $50 and then ask for it through the email, like email us and say, hey, I'm gonna go, I donated $55 and so forth. Now you have to include tax, because if you just put $50, there's a fee for it to be drafted and so forth, so that won't be counted as $50. So make sure if you donate money, you send like $55 or $60 because of the draft. It charges you a fee. But that's just for the donation, okay? If you don't believe in the freedom of religion, freedom of belief, then go ahead and just sacrifice $33. More than $33, in fact. And on that one, as long as you sacrifice that amount, that will count it, right? But if you're donating, you have to donate over $50 for me to go ahead and give you those videos, okay? But I would be in awe if you sacrifice to make a statement of that you believe in freedom of religion and freedom of belief to ulosophy1@gmail.com on PayPal, and I will go ahead and give you. I will be in awe that I would give you that course. I will give you that course. That course is worth nothing. I don't sell it. I don't sell nothing. Never expect anything. Never expect profit from the work of others. Never expect profit from the work of others. Never expect anything from the work of others. Never expect anything from the work of others. I say this over and over again. Everything that I say, everything that I talk about is my opinion, and I'm just talking to a camera. I'm not a doctor, I'm not nothing. Don't expect anything from the work of others. So don't expect a thing from what I'm saying. Right? If I say that magnesium, helps relax you, don't expect. If you try that, that's under your own responsibility. I said my disclaimer. This is not true. This is just fiction. I'm just freedom of speech, and I'm just talking. I'm not a doctor. Seek medical help first if you have any issues and so forth and so forth. That's my disclaimer. But if I say that magnesium helps you sleep, that's me talking. That's my opinion. But don't expect anything from what I say. Don't expect anything from what I do or say. Don't expect nothing. Nothing. This is not a trade-in. This is not a trade-in. Ulosophy is not a trade-in. Ulosophy is just something that is posted there, and it's there because it's there. You know, this is not an exchange. That's why I don't charge for it. This is not an exchange. We don't have no exchanges. We don't expect profit from the work of others. We don't expect anything from the work of others. Okay? So always have that in mind. You know, but if you luckily get profit, well then great, awesome. And if you luckily do get, you know, sleep from the magnesium, from, like I said, well then that's great. But we don't expect anything from the work of others. Okay? So sacrifice to ulosophy1@gmail.com and PayPal. Make sure you post their sacrifice, and every single dollar will be one ticket for Ulosophy. I won't have this much longer. I'm just, right now, we don't have much members, so the few people that are watching my videos, are seeing my videos, know that this is something that is not going to be for a long time. This is just a special thing because I want to see who are going to be part of the Ulosophy founding members. We've been since 2016. There's a council, but I want to see who. This is another point in our evolution. This is when we're opening up the books. Remember, like in the mafia and in the movies, you know, they closed the books for a certain amount of time, I think for a few decades, but then like in the 70s, they opened back up the books and they allowed people to become made men again. Well, that's similar to this, right? We're not gangsters or anything, like we don't involve in violence or crime, nothing like that. I'm just giving you an emphasis, like something like it. We're opening up the books so you guys can go ahead and become some very special members of Ulosophy, maybe even part of the council. All right? So go ahead and donate. You know, and after you donate, go ahead and email us and say, look, if you're interested in becoming a member. So donate, of course, I mean, if you donate a certain amount, I would be in all. $33 and above, I will give you my course that I told you I had that has sacred information. But if you donate a certain amount, like a big amount, then I would be odd, and that will go ahead and allow me to take you more seriously if you want to become a Ulosophy member. Right now the books are open for the council members. Right now the books are open for the founding members. The books are open. They won't be open for long. So go ahead and sacrifice. You don't expect any. Remember, you don't expect nothing from it. You don't expect nothing when you sacrifice this money. It's like you might as well make a video, and if you're sacrificing $1,000, might as well get a lighter and burn those $1,000 and say, I'm doing this to make a statement that I believe in freedom of religion or freedom of belief. You might as well just do that. But at least here you'll receive a ticket, a Ulosophy ticket that is worthless. But maybe one day it could become something. You never know. So, ulosophy1@gmail.com. I love you guys. This was a great live. Look out for the video tonight, 7 p.m. It'll be premiering. Oh, it's going to shock you. Love you guys. Goodbye.